All right, well, welcome everyone to today's Process Mining Academy session. This session will be focused on an important component of the solution, process configuration records, something we should have for every process we're planning to mine. They power the investigative features we use in the Process Mining Analyst Workbench. They help make project creation more streamlined. They help us scale process mining in our organizations. A really important topic, and we have a really special guest here to help lead us through it. So let's get started and get the logistics out of the way, and then we'll get to the topic at hand. So the purpose of these sessions is to help us all get better educated on ServiceNow's in-platform process mining capabilities. We'll provide how-tos like today's session, practical guidance, use cases, product updates. And as a group, we just exchange ideas and collaborate so we all continue to get better. How the sessions work, we have a scheduled topic that we usually cover for the first 30 minutes or so. Then we open it up for questions on the chosen topic for that session. Then we give you some, other items to consider, and then we open it up for questions above and beyond the day's topic, sort of like an office hours. These sessions all get recorded and eventually posted on the community. There's over 30 sessions out there now, so if you're interested in doing a deep dive in other areas of the solution, you should check those out. And then as we go through the session here today, post your questions in the Q&A section, not the chat, the Q&A, that way we capture them. We'll do our best to get to the questions. Typically, we save the Q&A answers till the end, at least the live answering. We'll answer them in the Q&A section offline. But the live answers we do at the end, that way they don't mess up the recording. And then if we can't answer the question here today, what we do is we take it as a follow-up. Maybe we use it as a future Academy session, but we'll usually post the answer on the community site itself very, very quickly once we get the answer to the question. This is the slide that says, hey, anything we say and do here today can't be held against us in the court of law. It's also the slide that says, as part of these conversations, if we make any forward-looking statements about things that might be coming in future releases, you should take them as such. We'll make no decisions based on them because they're always subject to change. And I'm assuming you've all read the fine print. So there's a number of different process mining specialists that help us out with these sessions. I've got two of my colleagues here today. One, Damien Pascal, who hosts other sessions. Damien, if you just want to do a quick introduction.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining.
And our star special guest today is Bilal. Bilal, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Hello, apparently I'm the star special guest. My name is Bilal. I'm with Product Success, specializing in process mining specifically. Hello.
Awesome. And Bilal is going to be leading us through the process configuration specialized topic here today. And for those that I've not met before, my name is Dan Grady. I'm part of the same team as Damien. We're on the process mining outbound product management team. All right, so what we'll do here today, we've got to do the quick little process mining 101. For those that may have stumbled upon us for the first time, we want to get you all level set about the topic that we're talking about. And then we'll pass it over to Bilal to dive into those very important process configuration records. We'll get your questions answered. We'll get you familiar with some other additional resources. There's some updates that those of you that have been coming back might not have been aware of, so we want to make sure you get the updated information. And then we'll get you out of here. So as always, we start with the quick process mining 101 for our newcomers. So with everything we do, there's a designed and desired path in our minds for how it should work and how things should play out, whether that be planning an academy session like this or a business process. And when we design things, we design for both efficiency as well as completeness to provide the best experience possible for as many people as possible. Now, unfortunately, what we design isn't always what ends up happening in reality. The reality is not all the work flowing through our processes is going to take the optimal path. And that's going to have a negative impact on both the experience somebody requesting a service as well as the people trying to deliver that service. The challenge that most organizations face is identifying what is actually happening within our processes and then improving them. It's not always easy and obvious. What process mining allows us to do is use the audit log data that is generated as records move through a given workflow. The audit logs allow us to do is create a visual representation of what is actually happening within a given process. This new level of visibility helps us accelerate our ability to identify inefficiencies, non-conformant process activities, and just general improvement opportunities. Process mining gives us the ability to answer process questions that have historically been very challenging for us to answer. So, where traditional analytics will allow us to answer a lot of the what questions about our processes, process mining helps us answer the whys. So, things like where is the process getting stuck? Where is there unnecessary rework happening? Where are incidents or cases ping ponging between groups or teams? Where aren't we conforming to the process we've designed? All these things have historically been difficult to answer and act upon, and now they're available to us in just a couple of clicks with process mining. We like to say that process mining is going to get you to the why behind all of your KPIs, and in doing so, empower everyone involved in the process to make data-driven decisions about which improvements to make and which ones maybe we could put on the back burner for a little while. All right, that's the quick little 101. Now on to today's topic, process configuration records. Bilal, are you ready?
Yep, let me
Awesome.
share the
Feel free to
screen here.
take control of the screen and educate us, please.
Great. And Dan, just confirm you can see my screen.
If I click on the Zoom thing at the top that says Bilal's screen, yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. First off, thank you, Dan, for the great intro. My name is Bilal. I'm the product success guy for process mining. My job is to help you succeed with process mining, whether that's building out your first configuration record, like I'm going to show today, or creating your first project, or doing some really advanced analysis. Really, anything you can think of with process mining, I'm there to help. For the sake of today's recording, and people may be wanting to review this session at a later date, I do have a few slides to go through first, hoping to get through them in about 10 minutes. And then I can demo this guided setup live. As far as the live demo is concerned, there is good news and bad news, right? The good news is that we've made the guided setup so easy. I'd encourage you all to even follow along with your own process configurations, and we can all get something set up together by the end of this call even. The bad news is that we've made it so easy that the whole setup may only take 10 minutes or so to finish, which means I'm going to have to show it twice to kill some time. But I'll do it in a couple of different flavors, so hope you'll all bear with me. Now, over the past few releases, we've really reduced our customers' time to value with the introduction of guided setup experiences. And we've done that for project creations, and we've done that for improvement opportunities, as many of you may have interacted with already. In Yokohama, we've added a guided setup experience for process configuration records. First and foremost, what is a process configuration record? Well, for every process or table that you want to mine, incident, HR case, demand, vulnerability, anything you can think of, custom tables even, a process configuration record should be created to hold some base preferences and configurations for that process. We don't require it, it's not mandatory, but it unlocks a lot of value. For example, the process configuration record is where you define which fields to be used with root cause or cluster analysis or work node analysis for any given process. The process config record is where you can define your improvement opportunities that can be imported and reused by others as they create their own projects to analyze any given process. And the process mining content packs, which are available in the store for the different workflows, they deliver a lot of these process configuration records, but for situations where we don't have an out-of-the-box content pack, so custom tables or very obscure tables, right, you're going to want to create these yourself. And today we're going to show you how to do so. Today, I'll be going through each step of our guided setup process for process config, what you should expect to do, what can kind of be left as optional sometimes. And finally, I'll show the results of setting one up live in our demo. So let's get started. Now, the very first section in our guided setup that I'll review today is the process details section of the configuration. Here you can use the process config record to make it easier for others to create projects by defining recommendations at almost every step of project creation, actually. Using the process perspective section, so the very first section in here, we can set up activity recommendations. Basically, you can set up specific fields, maybe that state or assignment group or category, to be recommended as activities for those who are creating new process mining projects. So when they get to the activity section of the project setup, they'll have those 3 fields or however many we've defined available to them for easy selection. It may seem like a really small thing, but we found it's actually a very large quality of life upgrade for those of you who are actively scaling out your process mining programs to the broader org, and you're expecting non-subject matter experts to be building some of these projects. You can see we have a screenshot here showing what the recommendations look like also post setup. I'll show this in the demo as well. And by the way, you can also do this for breakdowns. So breakdown recommender, right? If you've ever heard myself or Dan, Damien, Roz talk about breakdowns, I feel like we all say the exact same thing. We always say breakdowns help you slice and dice your data because it's true, right? If you want to see how all of my assignment groups processes compare against each other, the breakdowns help me see that, right? If I want to filter out my whole process based on the hardware category, right? I can do that with breakdowns. So we wanted this feature to be as accessible and as intuitive for any user picking up process mining, which is why this breakdown recommendation feature was implemented. Much like activities, we can define which breakdowns should be recommended to the user for easy selection without restricting someone at all in their analysis, right? They're still free to choose any field in the list or even dot walk across tables for more breakdowns. But with this setup, just a few clicks in the breakdown section of project creation and they're up and running, right? You can see here a screenshot. We can just click our recommended values and they'll be added to the project. And the last part of this section, or the process details section, is, let's say, the most optional step here, and that's configuring child tables. So in this section, you can configure potential child tables for use in multi-dimensional process maps and analyses. This allows us to offer kind of single-click configuration of those child tables during the project creation process. It's another small thing that removes some potential confusion for newcomers, and it makes project creation more efficient for everyone, even our advanced users. It makes it so much easier to just add things. Some of you may be familiar with this concept already. As you can see in the screenshot here, we have these single toggles for approvals and SLA breaches to the process map. We're able to add additional tables with the Add Child Entity button, right, over here. That's not going away, but now we do have this single time. We can configure this a single time, right, at the process config level. So it's always available as a toggle moving forward. So we can see in the screenshot here, I have incident task and I can create whatever one I want and there'll be a little toggles here. Now, the next big section in our guided setup for our process configs is our investigative features section. So this is where we configure some of the more advanced analyses. All of our machine learning capabilities can be found and tweaked in this section. The first two items are root cause analysis and cluster analysis. Some of you may know cluster analysis as requester intent. These are two really powerful tools at your disposal, but there is a single step needed for each one in order to configure those types of analysis. For root cause analysis, we need to define which fields we want to try and find trends against. In this example, I've added category, assignment group, channel, and a few others. This means when I run RCA, it's going to analyze each of these fields and give me some potential root causes. For example, it might tell me that it's 63 times more likely for an incident to move to the on hold state if it comes in via the email channel, or if it's been assigned to X assignment group, right? RCA looks for patterns across those fields that we care about, that we define in this section. The next section is cluster analysis. So in RCA, we look mainly at structured fields with defined data in them. Cluster analysis is very good for unstructured data, right? In this part of the setup, we're essentially defining which unstructured or free text fields are we going to look at in our analysis. So most of our customers tend to use short description here, though we've seen description also used. It's worth noting you can have multiple free text fields defined here for the analysis. Once this is set up, you'll start to see what are the big buckets of words that people use when they open an incident in this example, right? We see a lot of email, monitor, headset, charging, VPN, access requests, et cetera, right? This is all to help you easily comb through your data without having to manually read each word. Again, like most things in the guided process config setup, this part is optional. However, if it's not set up, when you try to run RCA or cluster analysis, you'll find both of those buttons essentially grayed out. We won't let you try to even run those analysis because it'll just give you an error and then nobody's happy. And the last step of investigative features is work note analysis. So very similar to cluster analysis in that we're analyzing free text, only in this case, we're looking at either work notes, which are agent notes, additional comments, or both. We often call cluster analysis requester intent, right? But I like to call work note analysis agent intent. What are agents specifying when they move things to on hold or when they hand off to another team, right? Work note analysis gives you that lens and context of these notes, again, without having to read every single work note on every single record. During this setup, we define a few things here that drives this capability, which I'll talk through in the demo. But just know, similar to RCA and clustering, if we choose not to configure it, it's not the end of the world. It will simply be grayed out when trying to use it. A quick side note, here in our previous Academy session, we were discussing how, starting in Yokohama, we have these work notes summarized if you're utilizing Now Assist and you've turned on the appropriate process mining skill. It's a great feature that even further speeds up your time to value when analyzing your work notes here, right? If you're not utilizing Now Assist, that is still fine. We're still able to run work note analysis and present the information similar to how we do with regular cluster analysis, as long as we set it up in this section. The third, and I'll use a big word, penultimate section we have in the guided setup is the impact metrics section. This section's relatively simple in Yokohama. There's not a lot you need to do here. Firstly, if there's a dashboard that we use as our north for our different KPIs that we track against a specific table, again, in all my examples, there will be incident, we can tie that dashboard to a project automatically, kind of for ease of navigation. This means whenever a project is created against this table, we'll be able to easily access that dashboard from process mining without the need to flip back and forth between different tabs. The next configuration we have in this section are our KPI categories. We have 4 categories here: quality, conformance, performance, automation. We define which existing KPI metrics tie to which of these categories. This will do 2 things. First, when we create a new improvement opportunity, when we select the KPI category, for example, we select quality, it will automatically associate the KPI metrics that we define in this section. And I promise this will make a lot more sense when I show it in the demo. Secondly, this allows for some easy filtering. So if I were to ever add a process mine directly on a PA dashboard, I would be able to easily filter from the dashboard which improvement opportunities I care about. For example, just show me the improvement opportunities related to MTTR, because that is what my team is responsible for. So that's what is being driven by these KPI categories. Again, we'll make them a little bit more sense when I show it. And finally, this is the last section of the guided setup, improvement opportunities. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time here. I believe we have an Academy session already dedicated to improvement opportunities specifically. I know we certainly have a use case series recording out there as well for the new and improved version of building improvement opportunities. The biggest thing I want to note about this section before we jump into the demo is that this is where we define our evergreen improvement opportunities, right? When we create a project and we get to that improvement opportunities section, we have that button that says add from library. Some of you may be familiar. This is essentially where you have the power to curate that library, right? Finding definitions that are important to you and your org, they can be defined here so that anytime someone creates a project, they can associate those important findings without having to build it themselves. We also suggest some automated finding definitions here automatically for you based on the activity recommendations you defined. I have a screenshot here. Again, I'll be sure to show this when I create a new process configuration in the demo. But it's a really big time saver to have these just like, hey, we know that you deal with state. Here's a bunch of state things we think you should just create, and it will create it for you automatically. Any questions or that I should go through, Dan? If not, I'm happy to jump into the instance.
A couple of questions we can answer real quickly. One is about one of the questions was about Now Assist and the work notes analysis, and I think you've effectively answered it already. Like, what's the experience without Now Assist? The Now Assist skill turned on is you get the clustered words. If you happen to have the Now Assist skill activated, you will get those nice summarized views of the different clusters, which will streamline your analysis, as you answered. Just a question about licensing. Yes, there is licensing or entitlements required for process mining. Our recommendation is to work with your account team. And then a recent one just came in around kind of how does this interact with AWA or advanced work assignment. There's not necessarily a feature with process mining that connects directly to AWA, but you can use process mining to understand how well the work assignments are performing, and an understanding of where you might need to improve or adjust. So those are some of the quick questions that have come in so far. Keep them coming. We love them, and nice work, Bilal.
Excellent, excellent. All right, everyone. This is where, again, I would recommend everyone kind of follow along if you're interested or if you want to create something. We're happy to help, but we should see that creating a process configuration is very, very simple with our new guided setup. So I have here just my demo instance. And I got to this space going to the project workspace. So if you're in Xanadu or above, when you click into your workspaces tab, you should find a process mining workspace button. I would click on this process mining workspace button, and you'll have this view. You probably won't have as many projects as I do, because that is my job, believe it or not, is to create a bunch of these projects sometimes. But if you're in Yokohama, you'll notice a new little wrench icon right here, and this is process configurations. We have a new view for the process configuration records. For those of you familiar with the old view, you used to have to go into the old, like the backend table type process configuration, look at these types of records. But now we have this new and improved view. And if you've already created, or if you've been working in process mining before and you have a process configuration, many of you will have incident. I wanted to go through initially what has changed, just walk you through each of these. So I'm going to open just this incident configuration record. And then once we go through kind of what this looks like today, we'll create one from scratch. And that'll be my 2 examples of creating process configuration record, right? So I opened up this process configuration record. You see I have the 4 sections that I discussed. And the very first one that we land on are process details. Now, if you've been using process mining and you have a process configuration record, this is going to be the only section that's essentially new. And this is the recommendation fields, right? So which fields should I recommend to a user who's creating a new project? Like which activities should be recommended, which breakdowns should be recommended, and then the ability to create those toggles for the child tables, right? The very first one you can see here, and we provide examples all over the platform for this. We even have nice little diagrams to kind of explain to you what these things are here. And anywhere where you see a question mark, we have a ton of information with links outside to our documentation to help you along here. So these fields that I populate here in this process perspective section is going to define what gets recommended to the user as a potential recommendation for activities, right? So if I define, hey, the field that represents progression of records through steps, that's state, great. If you have another custom field, or maybe if we're looking at a different table, it might not always be state, but it's usually state, right? Which field represents a team owning of a record? This is assignment group. It could be support group. It could be, whatever table we're working in. Which field represents the person working on a record assigned to, right? So a lot of plain text language here to help you get through it. And then in general, which other field would you like to analyze, right? So these are any additional activities that may be relevant, right? Whether that's on hold reason, whether that's category, maybe reassignment count shouldn't be here. I'm going to remove that, right? Just remove that, and that's fine. We do have some recommended fields here as well, based on we are looking at your table and seeing which fields are changing most often, and we give you some recommendations here as well. Breakdown fields is going to be very similar, right? So what are some fields that represent classification of the record? Essentially, what are some breakdowns that you want your end users to be able to easily select? So category, contact type, assignment group, reassignment count, resolution code. These are also walkable, right? So if I want, instead of assignment group, I want to look at maybe assignment group managers as a breakdown, I can add that here as well, right? So these are very easy, and I believe you can add up to 10 breakdown fields on any given process mining project. And finally, child tables. So I can add child tables for sub-processes for analysis. This is going to define those toggles, so I can toggle easily on and off and add, in this case, change request. This is going to be the main section that is new in Yokohama if you've been using your process configurations already. Now, If I move into investigative features, this is going to show me which fields I want for automated root cause analysis, right? So which fields I want to track and trend against and try and find patterns in my data against. This is where I would define these fields. Worth noting, I would not add any string fields in here. Usually that could mess up the solution. Just a quick little debug to let you all know. But any like actual categorical field or reference field, it would go in here. Cluster analysis record. This is where we define our cluster analysis. Which fields we should be using for cluster analysis, whether that's short description or any other, maybe any custom field that you are using, that would work as well. Main caveat being this is for free text data, right? So as long as there's a string type field associated with this cluster record, we're good. One thing to note here, actually, the only speed bump you might run into in this entire process configuration section is this cluster analysis record, just because there's a role associated with these cluster solution definitions, and it's usually centered around the ML admin role. I think there's 2 or 3 or 4 roles that you may not have. It depends on what your role is at the company, I suppose. But this is the one field that you may need help with from maybe a platform owner or someone like that. Not everyone. I found that not everybody does have access because it does require that ML admin role. But everything else in the process config record, if you have process mining admin role, you are able to work through it. And then finally, our work notes analysis. So fields containing work notes. If you've been using work note analysis in Xanadu, this will already be here. If you haven't, this might be something you want to fill in as well. But just specifying, hey, do I want to look at, when I run work note analysis, do I want to look at work notes, or do I want to look at additional comments, or do I want to look at both, right? I can include both here. So specifying which fields we're going to run the analysis on happens here. Excluding notes from these users. So a lot of times we find that we have work notes that are being generated via automation or via an admin user or via some integration type user, like a system user, right? We can exclude those work notes because we don't want to skew the data that we're looking at, right? And we want to really look at what our agents are saying to each other. So we can exclude whichever user we want from the analysis here. And then we have a couple more fields here. So work note time range. Essentially, what we capture as a potential work note for the cluster analysis is after a specific transition has been made. So let's say the state has gone from work in progress to resolved, and a work note has been included in that within 60 seconds before or 60 seconds after that transition change happened. That's when I want to look at it. So this gives you the ability to focus. It could be 60 seconds, it could be 600 seconds, right? If you want to look at 10 minutes before now, well, I suppose it could be 300 seconds, not 60 seconds. But this is where we would define what that time range looks like during that transition. And finally, our minimum and maximum work note length. This is in words. So minimum length could be 5 words or 100 words, right? This is easy to exclude, maybe further exclude some potentially system generated ones if they're 1 words or 2 word work notes. And then it also helps exclude some of the really long, maybe emails. I know a lot of people, when they send an email, it populates that email into the work note as well, so people know what's going on. This can help exclude those as well. So a lot of customization with the work note analysis are that you can essentially configure and make it suit your process. Next is our impact metrics section. Oh, and I should note really quickly, there is this automation discovery toggle here. This is going to be turned off by default. I would usually recommend most people to leave it turned off. Automation discovery is a separate product, and it does require a lot of different configuration for taxonomies and things like that I found just most people don't have. Which leads to some funniness and some errors and things like that. So I usually recommend just leaving automation discovery toggled off. Next is our impact metrics. So we have our KPI dashboard. This is where I would specify what platform analytics dashboard I want to see in my project when I create a project. In my case, I just have incident dashboard here. But really, that's all it is, right? It's as simple as just choosing which dashboard you want to see. As long as you have a PA dashboard here, you can select it. So I'm just going to put that incident dashboard back. And then finally, these are our KPI categories, and then the KPIs that I've associated with each one, right? So a quality issue, I've determined, and again, I have demo data, so my KPIs might not really make sense. They're kind of some of the out of the box ones. But quality I've determined is tied to the first call resolution rate and the percent of first assignment resolution counts. Automation, incidents caused by change, and incidents not referencing a CI properly. I've defined that. Conformance, our breached SLA percentage, and then performance, our MTTRs, and our first call resolution rate, right? This is going to define when I create a new improvement opportunity. If I say it's a quality improvement opportunity, then automatically it's going to add these two KPIs to that improvement opportunity, right? Then when I put that onto a dashboard, I can filter out and say, show me only the quality improvement opportunities. And it's going to show me only the ones with these specific KPIs that are relevant. Last but not least is our improvement opportunities. This is where you can create a lot of the automated finding definitions and then the specific business rule-based or business-based rule finding definitions, right? So things are very prescriptive: incidents opened and resolved by the same person, long idle time, how long the agent took before they started working on assignment, etc. Automated tend to be our more pattern recognition, just general bad behavior, right? Ping pong, things going from A, B, A, B, A, B, right? Extra step. Usually the process looks like A, B, C, but for whatever reason, we have A, B, X, C, right? It'll find that extra step in those associations. This is where the content packs come in handy, right? They pre-populate a lot of this stuff here for you. So really, that is the entire process configuration record. I didn't create it from scratch, but we'll see. It's just as simple to create one from scratch here. Any questions before I start creating a new one? We have the one I went through was incident. I'm going to create one for incident task right now. Should be very similar.
Nothing that we need to call out specifically here. Well, I'll keep chugging along.
Excellent. I'm going to have a sip of my coffee then, and then I'll be good to go. All right. So if I wanted to create a new process configuration specifically for a table that doesn't come with the content pack, or maybe I have a custom table that I want to create this for, again, it all happens in the same place. I go to the project workspace, I click on this wrench icon, and then I go to create new. A quick note here. So I am going to create it for incident task, but let's say I wanted to create one. Let's say I loaded up a content pack, right? The content pack comes with these, what are called content pack templates. Your content pack templates are going to be these essentially templates for your process configurations that are preloaded with all of that information that we already have. The way we would end up utilizing this is that when I go to my configuration record, if I create new, for example, incident does have a content pack associated with it. Incidents. I'm going to get this checkbox here that says, do you want to start with a pre-built content pack template? It's already pre-checked. I just say yes, I get started. And the process configuration will be more or less completely finished. There might be a couple of steps you have to tweak and look at yourself, but it will be pre-built already if you have the content packs, right? So again, if you download any of these content packs, you will still need to create the process configuration for that record, but it will more or less create it for you with this checkbox. Now, if I were to look at incident task, for example, can't spell incident today, incident, do this, and then underscore task. You can see here, because it does not come with a content pack, that checkbox is gone, right? So it's not going to pre-populate anything. I'm going to have to create it from scratch. Again, that's fine. We're going to do it together. Hit get started. And we're going to go through this one step at a time. You can see I don't have anything completed. And again, we start at our process perspective section, which is our recommendation step. So which field represents progression of records through steps on an incident task? I know that is state, so I'll just type in state here. Save. Which fields represent teams owning a record? Again, that's going to be assignment group. Click into that. And who is the person working on this record? That's going to be assigned to. We have handy recommendations here as well. I'm going to hit save. And then which other fields would you like to analyze? I'm going to look at, I think, actually, incident tasks are a little bit different than incidents. They don't have everything. I'll look at contact type, which is the channel. We usually recommend that as a breakdown or as a, oh, excuse me, this is not, this is for, not for breakdowns. This is for activities. We can look at, we'll find some good ones here. I know it. Priority, I want to see priority changing during the life cycle of that incident. And maybe we'll have one more here. Maybe if I scroll down to the bottom. Service, I want to see if the service is changing at all, right? We can just have these two here. Now, breakdowns are for, again, slicing, dicing. We even put it in the product. I want to see all the different things that are that I can kind of report against or see how they compare to each other, right? Assignment group is always a really good breakdown to have. If I go down contact type, that's channel, right? That's always a very good one to have. And if I scroll down, priorities, very nice to see, right? I like to see how my P5s stack up against my P1s or P2s or P3s. And then I'll just have one more here. Let's say reassignment count, right? I want to see things that were reassigned once versus twice versus 10 times, how that impacted the overall process of this incident task, right? And then the field selecting the importance of the record. This is priority always. We'll just include that there. And then if I wanted to add a child table, I don't know if there are child tables of incident tasks, forgive me, right? There might be. Certainly I can create one, and if it ever does pick up something, it would, right? Like if I wanted to say action was the reference here, I could see that hit save, and then that's going to provide me with that toggle. That is the whole process details section. I'm going to hit continue to investigate features. And we're going to see after this what creating a project looks like and how this has impacted it, right? Automated root cause analysis. So it's going to automatically recommend to me some of the breakdown fields, right? It says, oh, I know that you like these breakdowns. Maybe you want to use them as for RCA. Yes, I do, right? I'm going to say assignment group, contact type, and priority are really good for root cause analysis, right? I want to see, hey, if things come in on a P2, they're 30 times more likely to move into on hold than any other priority. Why is that, right? I want to look at this specific automated root cause analysis. Cluster analysis. If there is a cluster definition record for incident task, it would show up here. If not, you're going to hit this new clustering definition. Again, this might be the one step that you may not have access to because it does require an advanced role. But we're going to name this incident task cluster. Fields to cluster records on. This is going to be short description, right? So what is the field that I want to work on? And I'm going to hit configure. I want to load for some reason, but it might show up here if I refresh this page. Incident. So this is going to take you to the cluster definition record. You have your incident task cluster, short description. This is more or less already done for you. There's nothing you need to add here. The only thing I've seen people add is if you have additional stop words that you want to use. We have our default English stop words automatically associated. So this is going to filter out the, a, and, etc. from your analysis. So you only get like good quality words. But if you have additional stop words, a different subset, you can add that here. All you have to do is hit submit. Setting, it requires a minimum of 2 records. It looks like I don't have incident tasks on in my workspace or in my demo data. So I'm not going to be able to create one here. But that's as simple as it is, right? You would click that new clustering definition, hit submit, and then it would be available here to select. And then work note analysis. I think I showed this already, but all I'm going to do is hit work notes, exclude users. I'm going to exclude system administrator. That actually happens to be me, but that's okay. Work note time range, I mean, 2 minutes before and after a process step, that's fine with me. Minimum work note length, 5 and 100 words, that's fine with me. And again, automation discovery, I'm going to leave that off. So this is pretty much done, right? I'm going to hit continue to impact metrics. And this is where I would add my dashboard. If I had an incident task dashboard, I'm just going to do incident management instead of the incident dashboard. And then your KPI categories, right? These, I mean, I'm just going to kind of go through these because I have no rhyme or reason specifically for any of these. Number of HR cases, or yeah, sure, why not, right? I'll do this one will be MTTR. And then we'll say this one is SLA. Any SLA ones? SLA breach trends, sure. Right. This is going to be very relevant for KPIs that you actually care about, right? My demo data, the KPIs all don't make sense anyways, but this is where you would assign those KPIs here. Impact metrics is kind of the quickest one, to be honest with you. There's not a lot to do in the impact metrics section. And then we'll hit continue to improvement opportunities. Now, this is where I was talking about the recommended definitions. We automatically not create yet, but we recommend, hey, do you want to create all of these automated finding definitions? I think they would be useful because you care about state and assignment group, right? I'm going to say yes, right? I'm going to create all this for extra step, rework, slow transition, extreme duration, ping pong between different assignment groups. These are all very useful, and they will all help me find good data, good pattern-based trends, right? Now, if I wanted to create a new rule-based definition, and this is where I'm going to show off some of the metric stuff. If I add a rule-based definition here, let's say I wanted to create a rule-based definition. Let's say this is long, work in progress category. I'm going to specify, so we can see here the impact KPI is blank. If I specify this is a conformance category, it's going to automatically add those KPIs here to this improvement opportunity. So if I'm the end user and I'm creating a very specific improvement opportunity for a specific project, all I have to know is I just choose whatever one I think it is, and it's going to automatically tag those KPIs. They don't have to go through searching the entire KPI list. You've already done it for them at the process config level, right? And we'll hit, I'm actually going to cancel because, we're not going to go through improvement opportunities too much here. But again, the recommended feature is the most important feature, I would say, in this. Just make sure you hit yes. I don't think I've never seen any harm in adding these, and they're always beneficial. People love improvement opportunities, and the recommended ones are very useful. And that's it, right? We're done. We hit finish. The process configuration record for incident task was created. You can see here, it's in my list. Just go ahead and refresh. It's right here. And now, if I go to create a new project, so I'm going to go into my process project. I'm going to create a new project here. And we're going to see kind of the fruits of our labor, right? We're going to call this the Incident Task Academy project. I'm going to specify this is on the incident task table, because that's the process config that I made. I do want to add a KPI dashboard, and I will hit, this should be the incident. Actually, I'm going to hit this no, because I believe it'll automatically populate when I create the table. And I will create project. And now we have our guided setup for the project creation, right? Filter conditions. I don't believe I have any filter. I don't have any records of incident tasks. That's fine. I'm not going to add any conditions to filter that out any further, obviously. But if I move into the activity section and I create a new activity, we're going to have our recommended fields, right? So we have this get recommended fields. Again, you can still choose any activity you want. We're not stopping the user from doing that. But now we have this get recommended fields, and it's going to show the ones that I defined. So state is recommended, assignment group is recommended, service and priority is recommended, right? I'm going to add state. I'm going to scroll down and hit save. And then I'm going to go to new, and I'm going to get recommended fields again, and I'm going to add assignment group. And hit select. And just these recommended fields make it really easy. We've noticed it just for especially the users that are not really subject matter experts, they may not know what an activity is, especially on their first or second project. This recommended fields helps so much. We'll hit save. And now you're halfway through setting up your project, right? I go to the breakdown section. I go to new. You can see here, instead of scrolling through the whole list, we have at the very top, choose from recommended breakdown fields. And I can just click, 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 hit save. And I've added all of them. This is not only helpful for new users, this is helpful for people that make these projects every day or every week or whatever, right? Because I know that it's not fun to scroll through the whole list every time, especially when I add the same 5 or 6 breakdowns every single time, right? If I've defined that at the process configuration level, it becomes a lot simpler all of a sudden. And then I'm going to go to use cases. And you can see here, I can include approvals, SLA breaches. These are all, we've had this for a while now, but now I have the ability to add additional ones, right? So I can add this action. I'm not going to really have any actions tied to this, but I'm able to add the action or whatever child table that I define here. And then I would set improvement opportunities. And you can see I have this add from library button. I'm the one that designed and built the library, right? In the process configuration record, if I click add from library, I don't have any rule base because I didn't create any rule base, but there are these automated ones that were recommended, right? These will always be here because we've defined them at the process configuration record, right? You can always create new, you're always free. Let me just add all of these real quick, apply to project. You're always free to create new improvement opportunities on a project by project basis, right? But those are transient, right? They're only going to live on this specific project. But if I create the improvement opportunity on the process configuration level, then I'm able to select it on any project moving forward. That's why we always recommend if it's a really important improvement opportunity, don't spend a ton of time like figuring out the perfect one here. Spend a ton of time figuring out the perfect ones here in your process configuration, right? Go to your incident record, go to your demand record, go to wherever and build that perfect improvement opportunity in the process configuration, because then it's permanent, right? You don't have to worry about ever building it again. And that is genuinely everything that you need to do for process configurations. They're very simple. We're actually building upon it moving forward in new releases. So, all of our new features and stuff like that, it's going to be driven by whatever you configure on the process configuration level. So, every release will probably have a small little talk about like what's new with process configurations and what you need to update and change to get some access to new features. Any questions? And I did just want to show, right, if I, because I set up the intent and the clustering, I can see the root cause analysis here. Just as an example, for those of you who don't know what root cause analysis looks like, I can see that this service is 12.39 times more likely to move into a waiting call or info than any other service, et cetera. And then I also have the clustering, which I created. And first, whoever was asking about the now assist and work notes analysis, if you don't have now assist, you're going to have a view very similar to this, but it's going to be work notes instead of clusters, right? These are clusters of your short descriptions. These will be clusters of your work notes instead.
Bilal, while you're here, one thing that I know a number of customers have asked about, just if you can show like the difference between a node and an arc, like the work notes analysis are only going to be available on the arcs in the map. So if you click on one of your arcs there, just so you can show that difference. So you'll notice here he's got the work notes analysis because he's on an arc, a transition on the map, versus if he were to click on just, let's say, work in progress, you're not going to see that work notes analysis. I've had a couple of customers say like, hey, Dan, I don't see the work notes analysis. And it's really just mostly because they're on a node instead of an arc. A little thing. But it's there. It just need to find it in the right place.
Yep, and that will make even more sense at the process configuration level, because you remember we defined, hey, during this transition between 60 seconds, I want to know when that work note happened, right? We define that time, we give it that time bound there because it's only possible on those nodes. So I want to see before or after this transition happened. So we always run work notes on transitions, specifically on the arcs.
Sweet. All right, I'm going to take control back, Bilal, and
Feel
just
free.
kind of share my screen. A number of questions did come in. We answered some of them. We answered all of them in the chat, but I'm just going to go back and review. If you've got questions about anything, please put them in the Q&A now. There was a question that came in around just the child tables, right? That child piece, and hey, the question being like, hey, when should I use child tables? Isn't that going to make the view of the map a little bit more complex? And you're spot on, right? The more information we try to communicate via a visual like that, the more involved the visual gets, and the more complex it might be to kind of interpret what's there. I think the general answer with that, the child tables is, as you saw Bilal show, is that you have the ability to toggle them on and off. What we're doing with the process configuration record is just making it easier to kind of get that default setup if the use case that you're building your project for requires that. So I think the high level answer is based on your use case. You decide whether you need to use child tables or not. I think the most common use case that we see child tables used in is when you start digging into your service catalog and you start linking requested item to approvals to the tasks associated with those requested items. That's the most common, I think, initial use case we see for child tables. And again, it's just toggling it on, toggling it off. The configuration makes that easier. Question about the recording. Always, this recording within 7 days, usually, the recording along with the slides, they get posted to the Process Mining community page or Process Mining Academy page in the community site. Phil was asking about kind of like the content packs and the PDIs. I believe the content packs are going to be available in the PDIs. The challenge is you're not going to be able to mine when you're in your personal developer instance because those instances are not set up to connect to the machine learning infrastructure. But I'll share, there is a now learning course that spins up a lab instance that you can use if you want to start getting some hands-on experience with these things. Was a question about contact type versus channel. Basically the same thing. I've seen different customers call the intake different things: contact type, intake channel, source, but it's really just where's the work coming from. One of our best friends of the process mining family asked a question about kind of like setting up process configurations, multiple process configuration records for a single table based on different parts of the organization that might need different kind of default values, let's say. I love that question. It's a conversation that we have been having from a product perspective, but I think we're going to reach out afterwards and just kind of get some direction from you in terms of the way that you think it would work best for your organization, because we'd love to have your feedback on that topic. Well, a bunch of other questions coming in. I see Damien's answering some of them in the Q&A. Damien, is there any that you want to answer that you're typing, and might be easier just to answer out loud?
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to potentially type this out. I will type out one because there's a link I want to include. But there was one here asking about, hey, can we build cross-functional? And this is where the child tables come into play, or specific use cases. So the one that, hey, can we build cross-functional relationships like incidents resulting from a change? And the answer is absolutely. And you can do that either from the change perspective or even from the incident perspective, and do that via filtering within the project definition very easily, and or be able to create a child relationship like Bilal had showed you during the that configuration setup as well.
Perfect. I see that someone's having, like I said, I think the PDIs, you're not going to have much success in your PDIs with process mining. I would recommend using that Now Learning or ServiceNow University course for process mining that's just been upgraded to Yokohama if you wanted to play around and get hands-on. Great. One of my favorite questions now to answer is process mining available for all modules on the ServiceNow platform? And the answer to that question is a resounding yes. Any process you're running on the platform, or I see another question down here below, outside of the platform, you're going to be able to apply process mining to. So incidents, problems, changes, requests, HR cases, customer service cases, projects, demands. You've created your own application and it's got some crazy record to it. We love those. Those are our favorite types of use cases to apply process mining to. So yes, it's available for all modules within ServiceNow. It's basically platform level across the platform. There was another question that came in and said, hey, can I apply this process mining capability to processes outside of the ServiceNow platform? We do offer up the ability to ingest external process data if you're able to access the kind of the audit log level information from those other systems. So the answer to that question is yes. We do have a couple of process mining academy sessions specifically focused on process mining for external process data. I'd recommend checking one of those out and just taking a look at how we do it. We walk you through kind of how that would work.
Then there's one more question that just
Yeah.
came in. Is a really good one. Hey, is process mining only for incidents? The answer is absolutely not. It's built for any workflow that lives within ServiceNow, any table, any data source within ServiceNow, as long as there are audit logs, and typically most of the out-of-the-box tables do have audit logs enabled, or even applications you've built that are custom to your workflows as well. And as Dan mentioned, even for data sources that live outside of ServiceNow are also an opportunity.
Sweet. Keep the questions coming. You still got time.
Yeah.
But while you're getting your last questions in, I did a couple of topics we wanted to make sure people have been asking, trying to use this in their PDIs. We've made it even easier for you. As of the Xanadu release, we've activated process mining in a limited fashion in your instance for incidents. So if you go to your process mining workspace and you're at the Xanadu level, you should see an evaluation project for incident, and that will allow you to kind of mine the last 7 days of closed incidents up to 3,600 records. Again, lockdown project allows you to do a couple things. There's some stuff you're not going to be able to do, like the work notes analysis and the clustering. Like we're not giving you full access to process mining without entitlement, but it's a way for you to get hands-on with the solution with your own data in your own instance. And then if you happen to be at Yokohama patch 2 or 3, we've added 2 additional process mining evaluation projects, one for HR case and one for customer service case. So most of you on this call probably should have access to process mining in some fashion. You'll hit the mine button on those projects. You'll get that summary and insights page for your project with those findings, typically a lot of rework. And then you'll also get a visualized process map, including the activity of assignment group and state. So you can do a number of different use cases. The team has written a blog post out there on the community on how to use these evaluation projects with short little videos for common use cases, like how to use these evaluation projects to identify jobs or tools for your AI agents, how to do the multi-hop analysis for that person that was asking about AWA. This might be or advanced work assignment. This might be something you want to try out in your own instance. So just quickly search up how to use the process mining evaluation projects in your instance. You'll get a link to this this article, and we'll walk you through how to use those things if you want to start getting hands-on with process mining today at this moment. A couple of other resources we just want to make you aware of real quick. One big one is that the Now Learning course on the ServiceNow University has just recently this week been updated to the Yokohama level. So there's a whole new course out there, and it actually comes with a micro certification. You've probably found us via the community forum that we have for process mining, but if you're not familiar with it, Damien put a link in the chat to that community forum landing page. I would check that out. It's a great place to kind of get access to all of the assets that we're putting out here. One of the best assets to start with is the guide to getting started with ServiceNow process mining. On that page, we kind of build a little curriculum for you. There's a 2-minute explainer that you can share with other people in the organization to make them aware of what process mining is. There's a recorded demonstration and overview presentation. There's a recording of how to create your first projects with process mining. There's a recording for how to use the process mining workspace. And then there's a link to something we call the process mining use case series, which is about 15 to 20 of the most common use cases that customers apply process mining to. Things like SLA breach analysis, multi-hop analysis, looking for jobs for your AI agents, finding automation opportunities, how to isolate the work just for your team. I mean, there's 5-minute recordings for each of those sessions, or each of those topics, just to kind of inspire you on the types of things you can use and also show you how to actually do the analysis. You're watching the Process Mining Academy, so you're familiar with that. And then once a month, it happens to be next week for this month, we host a Process Mining office hours. It's really open forum, bring your questions. That's going to be, you'll find the link to that in the community forum as well. I'm moving quick because we're running out of time. I already mentioned this though, but many of you have asked over the years, is there going to be a certification for process mining? There is now a certification for process mining that you can get, and you can get your little tattoo or the thing that you're going to post to your profile in the ServiceNow University. You can turn it into a bumper sticker if you wanted to, print it out, hang it on your fridge. But we've updated the ServiceNow University course, the process mining fundamentals, to the Yokohama level. Once you complete that, you now go through like a 30-question certification. So if you're interested in that certification, please go check that out. We're super excited about it now being there. And then last chance for romance. Anybody got any additional questions before we call it a day? As you're getting those additional questions in, I just want to thank Bilal. Nice job, your maiden voyage on the ServiceNow Academy, ServiceNow Process Mining Academy. Appreciate you pulling the content together and sharing.
No worries. Oh, excuse me. No worries. It's my pleasure.
Oh, no last questions. All right. Just as we wrap up here and as you start to filter out some recent sessions around improving your service catalog, Damien hosted a live on now around process mining for risk management. Those recordings are out there. The next session, Academy session next month, we'll be doing a deeper dive into the work notes analysis. It's a very popular feature, so we want to make sure we have a session specifically on that. There's an upcoming live on now session specifically focused on security operations and response. And then the upcoming Academy session after the work notes analysis, and we'll be unveiling our task mining solution. And we'll have the task mining folks come on and share that story. So looking forward to seeing you at future sessions. And yep, somebody's asking for the link to the Academy sessions. I don't know, Bilal, if you have that handy.
Trying to grab that right now.
Yep. I think actually if you scroll up in the chat, did I put it there? If you scroll up in the chat, you might be able to click on the one that Damien posted around, it'll take you directly to the landing page on the community, and you'll see the Academy. You can't miss it once you get there.
Got it.
With that, we'll call it a day. Thank you everyone for attending. Appreciate your time and attendance, and we'll see you next time. Happy mining, everyone.